Okay, here we are. We're back at the grinding stone here, and we're going to take a look at ColorFX, the ColorFX tab here in Apple Color. Real quick, just want to remind you what this tab is for. If you recall primary in and secondary tabs, this is where we actually apply corrections to a very specific image, and we're doing very specific corrections for a very specific image. And when we get to the color effects, what we're doing here is we're applying either a technique or a look to a shot that can be kind of universal in the sense that we can copy and paste this look to more than one shot. All of the shots will, of course, need to adjust this this look or technique on a shot-by-shot basis, but the technique is the same from one shot to the next. So it's kind of a universal way of looking. If we recall films like Transformers or 21 Grams or any film that has a very distressed image or a really, something where they're really manipulating the color in a specific way, 300, for example, there's, this is how you would go about building and creating this look. Of course, the image that you want going into the Color Effects tab is, primary in. You want to, correct the image. In the secondaries, you might want to fix any specific color or any issues in a particular shot. But then once you get to the color effects, you apply this broad look or technique and tweak it to make it look right. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to work with this one shot here. And apply a technique where we soften the skin tones and the blemishes and kind of give her a what we call more of a beauty shot look, where it gives her a little bit more of a dreamy feel. But we'll go ahead and build this, and I'll delete this for now, and then we'll go ahead and build it again. And once we want to work on this shot, but I'm going to go to the primary in room, and the first thing I actually did was make the shot look a little better. So what I'm going to do is going to reset everything. So this was the original shot, and looking at the waveform here, I can see that I got some room where I can actually increase the contrast a little bit and make it look a little bit better. And what I chose to do is use the Luma curve for this, as opposed to pulling the brightness in the shadows and midtones and highlights. So what I do is a very typical, what we call an S curve in the Luma. I'll put a point right there in the middle to kind of hold things right where the middle is, and then what I'll do is I'll grab in the shadows and I'll drop that down a little bit until that shadow gets close to 0, and then I'll grab up here in the highlight and I'll drag this up until I get back towards the highlight. Not much at all, I mean just a slight tweak here, but already that shot's looking a whole lot better. And then the next thing I wanted to do was go ahead and adjust her skin tones a bit. If you'll look down here at the vector scope, you'll see that right here, this sort of yellowish color here is representing her skin tone. And it's a little bit pinker than what might be considered a nice, healthy looking skin tone, which is right on this line. So I'm going to go up to my mid-tone hue here and just sort of adjust things a little bit. Move it a little bit so that I can get that back again. Had a little interruption there. Okay, so I've adjusted the Luma curve here. I've gone up here and adjusted the color balance a little bit to bring her skin tones a little bit more in line with this healthy skin tone line here. Not quite so pink, but so I just did a primary correction. And if I move into the secondaries, I don't think there's any secondary. It says there's, number 2, I did a secondary. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't really have a secondaries here. I'm going to disable this. So now let's go to the color effects and let's build a little node graph here for softening up her skin tone a little bit. I want to kind of soften this out a bit. So let's remember, there's kind of a little walkthrough here. Over here I have just my node list. I mean, each of these is a little node that I can drag into my area here. That is the node graph. And then over here on the far right, I have a parameters tab for the node and a ColorFX bin for saving and reapplying various looks and techniques that I want. Okay, you can see here that I have a skin diffusion technique that I could use, and that's exactly what I'm going to build here, but I'm going to build it from scratch so you can kind of see how this works. I can bring a node into my node graph in two ways. I can double click, or I can click and drag. Double clicking just adds the effect, and it's just that one node. If I delete that and I just drag it, you'll notice that, bang, I get two nodes, okay? So if I drag a node into my graph, it builds two nodes if it's the first node that I'm dragging into it. What it's doing is adding an output node. This basically sends this process, this look, to the renderer. If I didn't have its output and I just had black and white, and I'm seeing black and white, when I render this thing, I'm not going to see the black and white because there's no output node that's pushing the entire node out to the renderer. So let's go back and add the output node again. And how do I hook these up? Well, this is a node. I need to connect it using a noodle. Here's the output, this is the input, so it says source here, and here's the output. I just click that little arrow and I drag down and I hit there, I'm bringing out a little green noodle, and I connect that to the input source for my output and let go, and I now have a connection. Now this particular node is sending the affected image out to the output. Okay, well, what's the source? Well, where's it getting? Well, any open source, this is an open source, there's no noodle connecting it. This means that it's just going to take the original image, no matter what, just the plain image that was coming in from the, well, in this case, down the pipeline is primary, secondary, then it'll hit the ColorFX. So whatever that image looks like as it enters the ColorFX tab, that's what's going to go into the source. I don't need a noodle going into it. I don't need to create an image and put a noodle into that. It's automatically just the image as it is going into the source, and then affecting it. Here's the, there's no parameter for the black and white, it's just desaturating it. But let's go ahead and build a node graph here. What I'm going to do is I want to be able to just select a certain, her skin tone, just the skin tone. I don't want to get eyebrows and eyeballs. I don't want to make this look all fuzzy and gross. I need to have her eyes stay sharp and her eyebrows sharp, and her features stay sharp, but just the skin itself to be softened and get rid of some of this unevenness in color and blemishes and whatnot. I have to decide. I'm going to take that and then layer that on top of the original image. So I'm going to have to blend a couple of different images together. That's that's the first thing I need to decide, is I need to blend two things together. So I've got a couple of different ways of doing this. I've got an alpha blend and I have a standard blend node. The blend node takes two sources. Here's source 1, source 2, and blends them together. Okay, and I can choose using a number, how it blends the two together. That's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is called an alpha blend. Now, this has source 1, source 2, but I don't want the full source of the image to affect. I want to select just a portion of the source image, affect just a portion of it, and then layer that on top. So what I'll do is include an alpha channel that will, help me select just the skin, and then I can take the source image, mat out whatever is in this, whatever this alpha channel creates, and then just affect that portion of the image, and then blend it with the original to get the soft look that I'm looking for. Okay. Now let's remember, this is, if I don't have anything connecting to the source, it's just taking this source image and putting it through this particular node. Well, let me go ahead and connect this to the output, so I can go ahead and click this output here and connect it to the source of the output. Now I have a connection between my alpha blend. So let's start building this a little bit. the first thing I want to start off with is a HSL key. All right. So what I'm going to do is I don't want to double click this. If I double click it, it'll add it, and and it automatically connects it to the output. I don't want to do that. So what I can do is just drag it in. Now it's oops, dang it, I did the wrong one. Let's go back here, connect this out. All right, now I'm going to connect this HSL key. So here's how I can view what this particular node is doing. When I click on it and it's highlighted, it is going to be the active. It's going to show you actively what's going on in this node and what this node is doing to the image in the view. Okay, so for instance, if I click the dropper tool and I go over here to select just her skin tone, I might just grab her eyebrow, like this, and drag up to grab her skin tone. All right, now because it's selected, it's going to show me what this node is doing. If I click output, it's going to show me what the output actually is, and it hasn't done anything yet because we are not feeding this into the output yet. So let me go back this and refine this particular HSL selection, because I just want to grab her face, and I want to grab her face, and get a particular look going here. So let's do that. That's looking okay. That's looking a lot better. I just want to make sure that I'm just grabbing her skin tone. I don't want to grab anything else. Okay, and I could spend a lot of time just refining that, but that looks good enough for right now. And let's see. That looks good enough right now. So what I want to do is I'm going to use this as a matte. Okay, I want to use this. I just want to affect just this area. So the source for this is the original image. It's just selected this portion, and I want to use this as an alpha matte. So I'm going to drag this into the alpha. Okay, and now it's going to alpha matte the source. Source number 2, because source 2 is closest to the alpha. This alpha is going to affect source 2. It's not going to affect source 1. Source 1 is just going to be the original image. Right now, source 2 is also the original image because we haven't done anything to it. But what I want to do is blur this. Okay. But like any good matte, when I matte something out, notice it has a lot of noise in this matte. And it's not really, it's going to look weird if I use this as an alpha matte just as it is. What I want to do is just blur the matte a little bit, so it gives it a softer sort of blurred effect. So what I'll do is I'll grab my blur node and I'll drag this over, but what I'll do is I'll drag it on over to the top of the noodle here between the key and the alpha blend, and it adds it into the chain. Now see what it does? It blurs it out a little bit. I might want to blur it a bit more. Let's blur it to 2. Oops. Let's blur it to 3. Okay. I can go back to my alpha key, and what I want to do is adjust my key now that I have this to see how, to make the key look a little bit better. So I'll click my key and, oh, dang it, wait a second. I want to be able to see the blur, but I can't adjust the parameters for HSL key. Wait a second, how do I, oh wait, this is how you do it. I click blur. If I double click blur, it turns it orange. Now when I just single click HSL key, I still see the blur node. Okay? Anytime I double click and I highlight it orange, that's going to be the view further down the node chain. So I can, now that this is selected and it's green, I can change the parameters a bit to try to, refine this this key a little bit better. And let's see, and maybe make it a little bit better, a little bit better, and diminishing returns here. That looks good enough for now. Okay, now I click Alpha Node. I'll double click Alpha Node and look at the miraculous results. Nothing has happened, if you haven't noticed. Okay, that's just because I'm alpha matting the original image and just pasting an exact copy of itself on top of, you know, the image. So nothing has changed yet. What I want to do is I want to blur this area. Well, I've got an HSL alpha matte, okay, that, oh wait, if I want to deselect the view, like something's highlighted orange like that, if I want to deselect that and I want to be able to see the blur, I can either double click the blur or I can double click anywhere else and it deselects anything, and then I can double click blur. Okay, I want to be able to soften the skin tones here. All right, so what I want to do is blur the skin in this area. So I'll use this matte to blur the actual original image in this area. The stuff in the image in the dark areas won't be affected at all, just the area in the white area. So I'll blur that skin and then paste, and then what I'll do is layer that on top of the original, and we'll get a nice soft skin look. So let's go back to the alpha blend. I'll double click that so we can see the effect, and I'm going to drag another blur node in here. All right, here's another blur node. And I'm gonna attach that. So here I've got the source going into the blur, and now I'm gonna bring that out to the source too, and it's going to blur the skin in that area. Do you notice that her skin just got a little bit softer? What I'll do is I'll bypass this. I can bypass the effect right here, and I'll turn it on and off, and you can kind of see the effect as I turn this on and off. Her eyes stay pretty sharp. Her eyebrows stay sharp, lips, nose, I mean, her facial features stay sharp, but her skin just kind of gets a whole lot healthier looking. Now, I'll remind you again what this is actually doing. This is the original image, the source image. Here, the source image comes in here, it's blurred, and then it is combined with the alpha matte, just showing her face there, and then combines it, you know, and so it blurs the image and then blends them together into the output node. I have a habit of double clicking things. All right, and there's the output node. I might want to, I'll double click the output, I'll single click the blur, and I'm going to crank this up a bit, like 3. Look at that, her skin got even softer. Her hair still is sharp, and you know, as far as a beauty shot, this looks a lot dreamier. It's like she's thinking of something romantic maybe, or who knows. Anyway, this is a node graph. This is a particular look. If I want to save this, I could go to my bin here, and I could just triple click here and say skin diffuse, and then click save, and it's going to add that look. You'll notice that I already have it saved here. I can move this effect. I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna go over here. I've applied this effect here, but I'm going to take this, I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna go back to this original shot. Now I can take this ColorFX and I can grab the ColorFX and I can drag it on top of this image, and I just copied it to this image. And look, it did a pretty good job of selecting just her skin and giving it a nice look there. I can hit Control G, and you can see that Control G, and then there's some other stuff going on in the primary and secondary it's affecting the color, but you can see the beauty grade is looking pretty good. Okay, you know, I can do other things, like once I've saved a look, I'm going to delete this. Maybe I want to try one of these. I can click, drag over here, and bang, it's going to add the entire node graph, and I can go to each one of these and tweak them. There's red. You know, what I would do is suggest, you know, going through and exploring these different looks. This is splitting the image into red, green, and blue. It's applying a curve to each color. and then it's merging them back again and then outputting it. So you can go through and mess with ColorFX and get some really cool effects going. You can probably go online and find forums and find people that have done and that will share this particular effect with you. These are files on your computer that you can go and grab that file, copy it, and share it, or somebody can share this. It's actually a script, and share them with you, and you can apply some certain cool effects to your images. Hopefully that explains ColorFX. It's ColorFX in a nutshell. There's a lot to explore in terms of nodes, what they do, how to combine them. The order in which you combine them changes the look. The image starts at the top and feeds through a node, through the noodle, and all the way down into the output. So I suggest, hooking some stuff up and seeing what looks cool. That's it for ColorFX.